I wanted to address a couple of things. And first slide, Dr. Seuss. We just had Dr. Seuss Week not too long ago. I was so disappointed because I was trying desperately on a Wednesday to get to Fox Elementary because they were having Dr. Seuss Day. And I really wanted to see the kids. They did send me some pictures of the Dr. Seuss hats. And they were just looked like they were having a ball. But I thought I'd start with one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. My all-time favorite is Fox and Socks. It's my son's all-time favorite as well when I try and read it. He gets quite a kick out of me trying to read through it. I wanted to share this book, though. I could read with my eyes shut. I really, when I started to go around and take tours of buildings, I really wanted to make sure that I learn about the district, so that when decisions have to be made, and I tell all of our boys and girls that I visit, all of our high school, that, you know what, I'm your superintendent. I'm not going to keep everybody happy, but I'm going to try and make sound decisions. Sound decisions that aren't with my eyes shut. When we look at, I've talked to teachers, and I've had conversations with teachers about changing practices. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's hard. I'll pull this book out. It's a great reminder for me. It might be a great reminder for you. All right? When I parent, sometimes I'm quick to make judgments, quick to make calls. I assume that the reason why Jill Wipke just popped Jacob Wipke on the head was because she was wrong, and I make a quick judgment. Okay? We have we have so many positives in our district. But when I look at coming in and taking a leadership role, I want to make sure that I'm not reading with my eyes shut, as Dr. Seuss so eloquently put in his book. There's one page in his book that I found particularly interesting. When I visit staff, I share this at times. I can read with my eyes shut, Dr. Seuss says, with Cat in the Hat, but that's very hard to do. The next page simply says, but it's bad for my hat and makes my eyebrows get red hot. So reading with my eyes shut, I don't do an awful lot. The message that is clear to me in my mission to go out and learn as much as I possibly can about our district is to make sure that I learn as much as I possibly can about our district, that I listen to all stakeholders, that I listen to all voices. If we could go to the next slide, thank you. Raise your hand if you've seen this kind of picture before. We all have, right? The iceberg model. This is a history guy in me. Every single time I look at an iceberg, I think of what? What do you guys think of? Titanic. Yeah, the Titanic, right? Right. The history guy can't get away from that. But look at that iceberg a minute. What you see on the surface is just the tip of the iceberg, because everything's underneath. As I go and visit schools, there is so much underneath the surface going on. So much good for our kids. It is amazing. I have this later on in my presentation, so I may mention it again. Many of you know my background. Many of you know that what I've taught. You know where I've been assistant principals and principals. I've been a part of some really, really good districts. And I want to say this, and I'm really glad that we have so many teachers here today. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking at our teachers, all right? You guys are truly some of the best I've ever seen. Ever. Anywhere. You care for kids. You love your kids. And I've gotten to see that firsthand. So the quality of teaching is phenomenal. We'll talk a little bit more about some things that I think our teachers need. Underneath the iceberg, they have on the far right side, and this was from the picture that I actually used this from, they mention things like underneath the iceberg, if we're going to be successful, we need hard work, we need risk, we need late nights and struggles. But I want to go to the other side of the iceberg. These are some of the things that I have found during my visits. We've put in hiring practices and hiring. We have meet and confer. Jeff just talked about that. Orientation schedules I'm going to get to show you here in a minute. We have a summer journey program that's really going to help all kids during summer school learn. We have a curriculum instruction process that we're discussing with teachers and starting to put into place. Right? We have a teacher evaluation instrument that we're going to not only be piloting but implementing next year. We're looking at balancing our budget. John Brazil has done a phenomenal job at that. Allocation of resources, how we support the teachers in the classroom. I've had staff meetings, principal meetings, teacher-led meetings. And we're going to get into a CSIP, a Comprehensive School Improvement Plan, from a district's perspective so that the BSIPs directly connect. There is a lot of great work happening underneath the surface in this district. I think it's important that you know that, and important to know all of the work going on. My visit to Fox Elementary School was so much fun. I was able to borrow a cape, and for just a little brief time, I got to pretend I'm Superman. All right? All right? Yes. Awesome. Yes. Right here. All right. There's my partner in crime right up here in the front row. How cool is that? All right? The real heroes and the staff and the students are the real heroes in the building. Not me in the middle. Okay? The ones in the trenches that actually know the ins and outs of the daily basis, what's going on in the buildings. It's the kids. On my way in here, I had a young gentleman that came up to me and said, this is the third time I've seen you. That was so cool. I don't know, is he still here? Is he here anywhere? All right. That was just so awesome, and he gave me a high five. The real heroes are our staff and students in the buildings. So, communication. Communication, let's go back to that iceberg real quick, Sam. The communication is incredibly important, and that's part of the reason I'm here today. To make sure that we're communicating, make sure that we're letting staff know what's happening in the buildings, to talk about the great things that I'm seeing, like I mentioned with our teachers. Okay, Sam. A little snapshot of just some of my schedules and some of my visits. I had to cancel the ones in red because of one thing or another, but that's just a brief snapshot of some of my visits that I've gotten to go on. I have a wide range of things, but one of my favorite things is the faculty meetings, and I'm going to share with you what we discussed in our faculty meetings. But one of my at the bottom you can see I have school visits. We've done principal trait meetings. We've done faculty meetings, and attending outside events. All right. I got to see, and it was unfortunate because we lost, but Fox Hockey's team. All right, and that was a ton of fun, by the way. All right, if we could flip on. This was actually one of my favorite visits to a school, which was Ridgewood. When I go to school, sometimes the principal will walk me around. Sometimes they'll give me student leaders. Right? Remember that? All right. So when I go around and I visit schools, well, at Ridgewood, right away they hustled me into a room, and I thought, okay, what's going on? And they pulled me into what they called the leadership room. And I sat around in a circle, and they just talked about classes that they take, elective classes that they take. The core content teachers are giving elective classes. You saw Ryan Weidman come up here from Ridgewood and talk about what he's doing with STEM and the construction with cardboard, and how he's helping build the kids in the classroom, helping build special education equipment for kids. Unbelievable, truly remarkable. This was particularly fun. However, what's said in the leadership room has to stay in the leadership room, and I learned that real quick. And I'm really glad about that, because the very first question they asked me was, Dr. Wipke, what was your biggest mistake you made as a kid? And I told them, all right, but I also told them you can't tell anybody, all right? They asked me a lot about vision and a lot about direction. Middle school kids asking some really, really strong, solid questions. Go ahead, Sam. Some of the things that I have noticed, and I've talked to department chairs, I've talked to principals, are what lies with our curriculum needs and instructional needs. And we do have some gaps, and we're going to close those gaps. Right, Stephanie? All right? We're going to close those gaps. We need a true curriculum implementation process that we're going to put in place, and we need resources connected to that curriculum implementation process. So I know that there's a structure right now in central office where we have 5 assistant superintendents. But when I was talking to the staff about this, and I said it this way, because I'm still learning, okay? And again, going back to reading with my eyes shut, I'm still learning. So I hold up a little magic reserve ticket that I reserve the right to change my mind after I hear and learn more information. But, as I look at the current structure, we have 5 assistant soups. I plan on moving that down to 3 assistant soups, and then being able to use some of those resources to help on the curriculum and instruction side of things, because I see that as an area that is lacking, right? I would hope that I would see some teachers going. Yeah, absolutely, okay? So we're still looking at that. We're still learning about that, but it's really important to me that we focus on our curriculum and instruction and making sure things are aligned and well connected, all right? We have some orientations that we've already scheduled. We've sent this information out to our administrators, and you can see we're going to have cabinet meetings, principal meetings, new administrator meetings, new teacher meetings, all right? And when teachers return, and staff meetings, we have that already outlined and scheduled. We've sent that out to staff so that they know what they need to attend, know the dates they need to attend it. I'm really excited about our orientation meetings, for sure. And then this is what I wanted to spend the bulk of my time talking to you all about today. We are all in this together. That's a theme that I'm talking to our faculties about. We are all in this together. When I first visit with the faculty, I will hold up 4 cards. And I say, you know what, being a history teacher, right, Jeff? I hold up these 4 cards and I say, it is important to talk about our past. Vitally important to talk about our past. All right? You have to learn from the past. But I hold up a hammer, only the card. I hold up an oil can. I hold up a screwdriver. Right? And I hold up a saw. And I ask every single teacher to talk about what tool would they use in order to fix our district. This has been really telling. I would have assumed, and I'm going to just be honest with you and vulnerable, I'd assume hammer would have been number 1. Raise your hand if you would have thought hammer would have been number 1. Nope. You guys are more right than I am. All right? Because let me tell you, all right, I'd have lost money on that if I was betting. Okay? What do you think the number 1? Shout it out. What do you think number 1? All right. Oil can is number 1. And when I ask why, here's what I usually get. Something along the version of, well, Dr. Wipke, for so long, we've been focused on the wrong areas, and if we just can use some oil to loosen up those other areas, we'll get moving again and get heading that right direction with that oil can. I have gotten some good ones with screwdriver, though, that are very similar, all right? And if we need to tighten some things up and loosen other things up. The best answer I got with hammer, because I thought I was going to hear hammer all the time. The best answer I got with hammer was, we need to use a hammer to knock away the rough edges so that everybody gets to see what I've gotten to see, which is the heart of Fox. I thought that was a really good answer. I'm learning a lot from them. Okay. I want to tell you a little bit about me outside of this venue, outside of education. And I want to tell you a little story. And I apologize if I get long-winded, but this is a story that's really shaped me. And I think it's important that you know it because I share it with a lot of the faculty as well. I do have another life besides an educator. Right? And every once in a while, you'll see, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that. And I focus on positive with Twitter, by the way. I focus on the positive things I see in the district. I'll send pictures out of my family. All right, sharpening the saw. All right, Jacob hit me right here with a snowball. All right, but it was a great opportunity to sharpen that saw. All right. So as you see here, I want to tell you a quick. Outside of this venue, I'm a soccer coach. We have any coaches out there? Coach little league teams. Good. I'm a soccer coach. I've been coaching a lot of teams for a lot of years. I've had some success, and I've also had some tough times. But I can tell you the reason why I still coach soccer is because of lessons that kids teach us. I'm going to tell a little story about a young lady I was coaching who was an unbelievable player. In fact, she was a phenomenal player. Today, she's at a big-time D1 school playing. That's how good she was. And we were playing in a state championship game, the finals of state. And she just wasn't having a very good game. And as a coach, I'm pretty intense. No, I wasn't kicking a cooler over, all right? But I felt like it. As she struggled to play well, we got to halftime, and we were losing 1-0 at halftime. And I kind of got on her case a little bit. I was upset, wanted to push her, wanted to try to get her to that next level. And second half started. Well, you know, in soccer, I can't call a timeout like in basketball. Gosh, I wish you could. I can't call a timeout. So when that second half continued and we went on, we were not playing well at all. And a lot of it dealt with this young lady up top, playing forward. So my only hope, and we were on turf field, by the way, okay? So my only hope to get a break in the action is what? Yes, lightning. That's it, because you'll play in the rain on turf. So I'm praying for lightning, because it is not looking good. And I want to tell you, not only did it lightning, it started pouring. And we had 20 minutes, and I'm like the only one standing out on this soccer field. Everybody ran inside. It was raining inside. And I'm like, thank you. We went into the field house. And as we stood in the field house, I'm trying to gather myself. And Jeff, I'm trying to come up with my best rah-rah speech right now. Yeah, well, I'll tell you who gave it to me in a minute. And my girls are sitting down a long hallway, kind of like this, right? Down this long hallway. And the young lady who scores most of our goals, right, for us, is way down at the end of the hallway. And she's crying. 20 minutes left of the game. You know what I felt like saying? There's no crying in soccer. All right? But I didn't. In fact, my heart went out. And so I did what any good coach would do. I went up to her best friend, and I said, hey, find out what's wrong with her. And she did. She walked back to her, and she came back to me, and she said, Coach, don't worry about it. I said, well, I am worried about it. I'm really worried about it. And she said, well, you see, Coach, she's really hearing it from her parents in the stands. I'm going to tell you, I get choked up thinking about it today. And she feels like she's a loser, Coach. She feels like she's letting everybody down. So I spent about another hour. And I went back and forth. The rain just kept coming. Thinking, what can I say? And the clouds separated, and the sun came back out. And it was time for us to finish the last 20 minutes. And now I really don't care that we're losing 1-0. I really just care about the young lady that, quote unquote, thinks she's a loser. So I go back there and I talk to the team, and I leave the field house, and I just started walking, and I actually was walking in the opposite direction of the field, and I don't know why I was doing that. But I just kept walking until the blacktop ended. And I turned around. I'm going to try and keep it together. But I turned around, and all of a sudden, all the little ducklings had followed me all the way down to the end of the blacktop, because that's where the coach was going. And I turned around. I really didn't know what else to say, but I knew what that girl needed to hear. And it's a very good thing I had sunglasses on. Because I'm not too big of a person to tell you that I was bawling like a baby. And I was able to struggle out the words, I believe in you. And then the next thing you know, our backup goalie, who didn't even play in that game, said, I believe in you too. And then it flowed, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I'm going to tell you, I don't even remember walking to the turf field, but we got there. We started that game, and I wish I could tell you it was like a Disney story. I really do. All right? The young lady that I told I believed in her did not score, but we did win 2-1 because her teammates believed in her. Her teammates believed in her. I stood up on that stage November 19th, and I asked you for something. I asked you to believe in me. I asked you to believe in an idea. And I asked you to believe in yourself. There's a lot of lessons that I learned that day on that turf field, but nothing from anything I read, but sure was from the kids that led me that day. If you look at the passage from Margaret Wheatley, is something else that I share. And it's called, Are We All In This Together? And I think it's a direct connection and tie-in to my little story. Well, I guess it wasn't so little. All right. Margaret Wheatley writes the book Turning to One Another. Turning to One Another. Think about the title. Read the book. It changed my life. Think about the title. Read the book. There is one passage in there that's called, Are We All In This Together? One of the most commonly heard phrases today is, we're all in this together. Right? From high-level leaders to local school board members to teenagers offering service, this is the mantra of our time. The mantra makes it visible what, until lately, has been invisible. Community, the web of interconnections, the safety net of caring that we extend to one another when life is hard. Fortunately, more people now are discovering that humans only persevere through difficulties when we're truly together. Yet many of us are distracted by stress and anxiety and the busyness and have forgotten the power of community. We don't have time for each other, and we hastily assign judgments and stereotypes to those we don't know. Our pressure-cooked lives are driving us farther and farther away from the very resources that could help us the most. Strong relationships with those in our local communities. I am heartened by the continuing news coverage of workers who support each other through continued employment by taking decreased hours by the many food bank shelters and the forms of care springing up all over the communities in America. Helping others, thinking of others, thinking more of the person sitting next to you than yourself is the right thing to do. Let's hope that America is waking up to both the need and the rewards of being in this together. We may even be waking up to the fact that most people want, to help others, want to be generous, and care a great deal about the welfare of neighbors and strangers. We can rely on human goodness. These are the first signs of major turning in the United States, turning towards one another to discover what we might create together, how we might help each other, how we might console and strengthen one another. America needs to learn this lesson. This is what Margaret Wheatley teaches us. This undeniable truth of a human experience, no matter what is going on around us. If we truly believe, there's that believe word again, that we're in this together, and we work hard to be there for one another, we can make it through. Last thing I'm going to read off of Margaret Wheatley's page, and hopefully I've enticed you enough to at least go Google the book. Yet there's a long journey ahead, and to make it through, we must give up our love of self and individualism and truly embrace community. Here are a few questions about the behaviors that need to change. Can we get over ourselves? Can we stop focusing on private needs and open to the greater good? Can we realize that in this intertwined world, if the least among us benefit, we all benefit. If they suffer, we all suffer. Can we let go of our need to blame, to judge, to scapegoat, all the thoughtless and nasty ways we separate from one another? Can we shift away from the self-interest and self-protection and do this everywhere, at work and at home, in public meetings? It's not easy. My wife would tell you, Wipke, you got a long way to go. This is the experiment going on in America. Nobody knows the outcome, but we need to make it a choice. And it's our choices that will determine the outcome. So, that is just a small snippet of what I share about thoughts and views with the faculty. We have to come together as a district because culture trumps all. We all have a story, and everybody's story should be valued. Everybody's story should be valued. Everybody has a connection. I can promise you, if I had everybody stand up in this room and I had a ball of string and I started telling my story, I can promise you it connected with one person. And then you told your story, it would connect with another. We are connected. We are going to focus on having more conversations as a district about beliefs and values. Mission failure is not an option. I mentioned that on November 18th as well. It's not the differences that divide us, Margaret Wheatley says, it's our judgments about each other that do. And this was really for the teachers. Love what you do in the service of people that love what you do. You guys are so good at that. So good at that from what I've seen during my visits. So, next slide. Why do we need to be in this together? Our students. Our students. I talked to a lot of people. In my days in Rockwood, in my days in Parkway, and now my days in Fox, I've talked to a lot of people. And they always will say, oh, I'm in this for the kids. I'm in this for the kids. We need to be in it together for the kids. Fox Middle School, that was awesome. Great visit. Cafeteria staff at Seckman Middle School, they were so proud of their cafeteria when they showed me all around it. They had a good reason to be proud. They're my tour guides at Antonia Middle School. That is an unbelievable school. Not only is it gorgeous, it has great educators in it. They put on a little skit for me at Antonia Middle School. It was an absolute blast. Right? You guys saw somebody you recognized, didn't you? That was you. Oh, go back. Let's see. Where are you at?
Next to the girl in the gray shirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right. Cecilia and Zach, Seckman High School, truly one of the best high schools around. Well, that's Miss Harrington's class, Seckman Elementary School. That was one of my very first picture. Yes, all right, little pause. Right there, Merrimack Heights had their choir concert. Look at the parents coming out. I wish I had a better picture. All right, I'd like to blame that on you, Rizzy. You didn't take that though, did you? All right. All right. The Fox High School hockey game. What a great environment. Now, this was an interesting story because I went down there after Jordan Bratton scored. He scored the only goal. We lost, I think, 3-1. And I went down there, and I took a picture of another kid with one of those big fat heads, right? And then this young man came up to me and goes, no, get me. I got Jordan right here. He just scored. So I had to spin around real quick and take his picture. And another great picture of a class I was in. Some more great tour guides that I had at Seckman Middle. And this is a funny story. My very first visit to Fox High School. I walked all in and went in all the classrooms, and I walked into this classroom, and it was an AP classroom. And they were all having a good time. And the girl in the back, do you see her that has the AP? When I was leaving, she said to me, well, you know, Dr. Wipke, this is the happiest place on earth. So I left, and I got about 4 doors down, and I said, I got to go back and get a picture of that classroom. So I walked back in. I want you to notice the girl in the first row sitting the second back. She was like, I can't believe we came back. It was so much fun. All right. And then this is Caden. Caden, I did a visit with Caden at, where were we? We were at Antonia Elementary School. It's the last picture. And I apologize for being so long-winded. But I had to share this story with you. I walked into to Caden's classroom, and it was towards the end of my visit. And I was just telling him how excited I am to be their superintendent and how much I'm going to care about them. And the thing is that when I said that, Caden pops up out of his seat and says, I've got something for you. Some of the kids will say, I got something for you, Dr. Wipke. That's how they remember how to say my name. All right? It's great. All right? And he said, I've got something for you. And I looked at the teacher, because they surprised me a little bit at Antonia Elementary, and I went on a whole treasure hunt all over the campus. So I thought this was just kind of part of it. And Caden's digging in his book bag, and I look at his teacher. And his teacher looks over at me and is like, this is unscripted. So then I'm thinking I might get something out of this bag that's alive. You know? I mean, that was my next thought. But he brings me this little shaped figure. This little origami structure. It opens up. And he handed it to me. No hate in his heart. Only innocence. Pure innocence about being in school and learning. I'm like a selfie king outside of the educational world. All right? Take pictures every time I run with my girls. I'll take a selfie. All right? In fact, for Christmas, my kids gave me, and I thought this was really a compliment at first, they gave me a whole book, an album of all my selfies. All right? And then I said, this is awesome. They're like, Dad, you're not supposed to like it that much. This is my selfie. And I keep this picture. And we want to talk about healing in our community. No matter if you're on this side of the room, no matter if you're on that side of the room. We want to talk about healing as a district. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you first heal with your heart. You first heal with your heart. I want to thank you. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to speak about some of my findings. This has been truly remarkable. The last time, President Laughlin, I stood in front of you and the other board members, I said I should be thanking you for allowing me to be your superintendent. And Board of Education, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be your superintendent and allowing me tonight to report out on what I found in our district so far. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.